So vanilla is one of those notes, it's one of those accords that you find in a variety of fragrances across the spectrum of fragrances, right? It is used in, top notes, middle notes, and base notes. It's used in spring and summer. It's used in fall and winter. So I figured it's time to give you 10 fragrances that have a prominent note or prominent accord of vanilla that you may want to check out, you may want to put your nose on. Not in any particular order. These are just 10 that I happen to enjoy that have a prominent accord of vanilla for you to check out, and let's know what you think. All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, and you're watching Smell Goods. I do appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit. I hope you're having an amazing day. Hope your week is just going phenomenal, and you're doing good. So, as mentioned, fragrances use vanilla, right? There may be some conversations as far as whether vanilla is overused as a note or accord. I'm not getting into that because I enjoy a lot of fragrances that happen to have vanilla in them, right? And so I do have 10 here that are going to be things that if you haven't already, you may want to put your nose on. Some of these are clones or inspired takes. Some of these are designers. Some of these are niche, and some of these are ultra luxury, as it were. So I want to give you some things across the spectrum. That way you kind of see where things go and how things operate and what may be out there for you. All right. Now, not in any particular order. I did kind of segment these as far as more budget / Middle Eastern / inspired up front, and then we'll get into more of the designer niche and what have you later on in the video. So you want to stick around because there's some things that you may want to check out, and don't get intimidated when I say designer. Don't get intimidated when we say niche, and definitely don't get intimidated when we say ultra luxury, just because it's all worth it depending upon if that's something you value. So first one up is one that I recently got into the collection, and I'll probably have to do a comparison, but this is from the House of Collage. This is Island, and this is Vanilla Dunes. Vanilla Dunes. This is their take on PDM's Altair. And this, we could compare this with Liquid Brune. I'll probably do a video comparing the two, but definitely you get that vanilla, warm, spicy fragrance up top. Does a pretty good job of getting to that Altair space. Haven't spent enough time as far as longevity, things of that nature, so you'll have a full review coming. In fact, one of the ways I'll know if you really want a review, put it in the comments, let me know that you want a full review coming on this. But this is, again, Island Vanilla Dunes from Collage. Definitely sweet, vanilla, warm, spicy, little cinnamon that pops out of here. And it can be a little powdery just as far as what I've seen so far. But definitely something you might want to check out for if you're looking for something with a vanilla note. Again, Vanilla Dunes from Collage. And this is Island Vanilla Dunes. All right. Next one is one that I haven't talked about in a while, but it is something that is I'm keeping it on the back burner. It's something that I pull out every now and then, especially when we're talking the fall and winter. It is one of those that it's kind of like, and if you know type of situation, just because what it's doing, its clone or its inspired take of, is something that has been discontinued. It's doing its take of the fragrance from Mugler, which is Pure Havane, I think it was. But this one is from Rayanne, not Rayhan, Rayanne, and this is Insurrection Wild 2. Let's see the description there on the side. This sweet vanilla, honey, tobacco. This is a nice one that may not get a lot of love. It's kind of like you might see it and not know what it is and know what it's doing. To give you kind of a fragrance frame of reference that might help you, think kind of Naxos. It's not a Naxos clone, but kind of in that space, right? Again, that sweet vanilla, honey, tobacco type of a fragrance that just does very nicely. Does have a little chocolatiness in this as well, maybe a cacao or something like that. But this is definitely one that is kind of under the radar, I think, and one that you may want to put your nose on, may want to check out if you find it. I know I've seen it like on Joma Shop for really cheap, really low price, but you may want to think about this one. This one is Insurrection 2 Wild from Rayanne. All right. Next one up is one that came out a little earlier this year as of the filming of this. and one that I know I've discussed a few times, but I don't think I could have a vanilla. There's a couple in here that if we're going to have a conversation about the vanilla note, vanilla accord, I don't think you can have a conversation without at least mentioning this. And of course, I am talking about from the House of Latafa. This is Assad Bourbon. Assad Bourbon. Let's get you a little more light on there. There we go. We can see it there. We'll go there. All right. So this definitely opens up with some, or not opens up, but it definitely has a nice strong accord of vanilla. There's some freshness with the lavender. There's a little cacao that kind of comes through with this as well. Definitely one of the ones for us for the Latafa line, in particular in the Assad line, that is definitely doing a great thing. This is it's in the space of a nice sweet designer fragrance. Definitely for the fall and winter. Definitely works really nicely, really well. And if I remember correctly, correct me, I may be wrong, but I know that this was in my top 15 of Latafa, maybe even my top 5. I can't remember where I put this in the last video because things could change. But as far as another vanilla fragrance for you to put your nose on if you haven't already, Assad Bourbon from Latafa. And this is, I know, something that you can probably pick up in your nearby rack stores. I've seen it a lot in like my local Burlingtons. So that's something to check out. All right, next one up is one that is another one that you can't have a conversation about vanilla fragrances without discussing this one, especially if you're talking from a budget, from a economical designer type of space. We're talking, of course, Mercedes Club Black. And this ambery vanilla fragrance does wonders. I know a while back I was hearing that it was going to be discontinued. I've also heard and seen that there was an EDP version. This is the EDT. I've not actually seen it, so I don't know what the deal is with that, but I can tell you that if you can find this, if you can pick this up, this is something that, if nothing else, to have kind of just sitting there waiting to be put in, waiting to be tapped in every now and then, just because this is a nice ambery vanilla fragrance that works wonders for the fall, works wonders for the winter. I've heard some people compare it to Altair. I don't get Altair. In fact, I think this preceded Altair, but I don't necessarily get Altair. This is just a nice, strong, sweet vanilla fragrance. Little warm, spicy, but definitely a fragrance that you might want to have. Could work for date night as well. All right, again, that was Mercedes. Show you again, Mercedes Club Black. And this is, of course, like I said, the EDT version. All right. Next one up is one that is another one that recently came in. And I think many people may kind of overlook this as a vanilla fragrance just because there is a prominent iris note in there as well. But we're talking from Latafa. This is his confession. But it is definitely a nice vanilla, yes, with some iris, amber, warm, spicy fragrance. It's doing its take on, I forget which one, but it's one of the Gentleman Givenchy's fragrances. I forget which one specifically, but definitely does a nice job as far as fall, winter. You could even, I think, wear this in spring. It's not necessarily relegated just to fall and winter, but it is a nice fragrance, a nice vanilla fragrance that you might want to put your nose on. Performs decently for me, not major as far as beast mode or anything of that nature. I think last year it got a lot of hype and a lot of buzz just because of the bottle design. Bottle design is kind of crazy. But as far as the fragrance, this works as well. Decent atomizer, right? But definitely something to check out, again, if you're looking for vanilla fragrances. All right. Next one up is we're going to kind of transition a little and move more into our designer / niche / whatever type of fragrances. First one up is one that I know I've talked about a few times. It does make a list as far as a beast mode fragrance, but this one does do a good job as far as the vanilla, the warm, spicy, amber type of feeling, with a little aromatic in there as well. I'm talking about from Rabanne. This is Invictus Victory Elixir. And when I tell you this does have some beast mode performance, because this kind of shifts a room. This is a fragrance that just kind of, it announces its presence, it announces it's there, but it also does a great job of just smelling good. It's one thing to announce your presence, but it's another thing to announce your presence and smell good. Invictus Victory Elixir is one that definitely does that. Of Cool bottle design, of course, as far as that Invictus kind of victory type of design that they have, as far as looking like a trophy, like a soccer cup, I guess. I don't know. But definitely does a nice job and does a good job of being one of those vanilla fragrances that if you have not already put your nose on, you definitely want to do that as well. All right. Next one up is one that is probably not on a lot of people's radar, probably just because of where it sits as far as price. I was actually able to get this on an amazing deal, probably about 50% off of what it would be if I paid retail. It was something that I was like, we're going to pick that up. Got it on a cruise. They had it on the clearance. Now, granted, clearance was it was up there, right? But still, for what I was getting for the value and the fragrance itself, I was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. And so this is from Bulgari, and this is La Gemme Aurum. La Gemme Aurum. And this is a vanilla oud fragrance. Right now, if you're not a fan of oud, I get it, but this is a very nice, deep, resinous, sexy, smooth type of fragrance. The oud is not overpowering, but it does give that vanilla. It does tone down the sweetness of the vanilla a little and add some more of the woodiness, as it were, that comes a lot of times with that oud. Not animalic, not funky, but definitely you can pick up some of the oudiness of it. And again, that vanilla balances it out some more. So the vanilla is not overly sweet, but the oud is not overly dank, as it were. And so it definitely works well as far as walking that line. Decent performance. This is, of course, overshadowed in this line by Tigar. But this is something that if you're looking for a vanilla fragrance, something that's kind of off the beaten path as far as just being a sweet vanilla, but you still have some of that sweetness, but toned down a little, this is something to check out. Again, this is Bulgari, and it doesn't have a name on it, but it is from the La Gemme line, and this is Aurum. All right. Next one up is one that I recently got into my collection, and I am definitely rocking the mess out of it. It is one that I definitely enjoy, one that I'm like, has kind of gotten me more interested in the house that it came from. The house that it came from is a house that I'm looking at and saying, this might be another nice entry-level niche type of a brand. I am, of course, talking about from the house of Goldfield and Banks. This is Silky Woods. Silky Woods, vanilla, powdery, musky, leathery type of fragrance. Little woodiness in there, powdery, if I've mentioned that. Just a nice overall fragrance that has the sweetness, has a little tobacco in there as well. The vanilla, the tobacco, and all of those things just kind of work really well. Lasts very nicely on skin and on clothing. And for me, works very nicely for this fall and winter. And is one that, again, it's becoming one of my favorites that I've got in my collection right now. It is one that I think I wore this like 3 days straight when I first got it. So take that for what you will, but it kind of tells you how I feel about this. This again is Silky Woods from Goldfield and Banks. All right. Next one up is one that it's another one of those that if we're talking about fall and winter, I don't know if we're talking about vanilla, I should say, then you can't have a conversation about vanilla fragrances without mentioning at least, if not this one, then some other things that come from this line. I'm talking about from Armani. This is Stronger With You Intensely. And this vanilla, sweet, ambery with a little hint of cinnamon in this as well. Definitely works for fall, works for winter, but is a great vanilla fragrance that, it does what it needs to do. Definitely one of my favorites as well. You can see just from the dent in this. Last fall, last winter, I wore the heck out of this. And I'll probably wear it some more. It's still a little, in all honesty, right now as with the filming of this, it's still a little up there as far as temperature, but I'm starting to break these out a little more just because, as far as fall and winter, just because it's much cooler than 120 degrees. But another vanilla for you to check out, Stronger With You Intensely. And then the last one is one from another niche house that is my other one that I say is a entry-level niche house that you can jump into. It is, of course, from Mancera. This is Instant Crush. Instant Crush. Now this woody, warm, spicy, vanilla type fragrance, this is in the space of a Baccarat Rouge 540. It's kind of their twist on it, is as it were. I don't think it's necessarily a clone, but if you wanted a fragrance frame of reference, this is going to be what you would kind of, or that's kind of where you would put that. Definitely a fragrance that I got in the middle of summer this year, but is one that, especially as we move into fall and winter, is going to be worn. But the vanilla in this, the saffron in this, all of those things work very nicely, very well to make this a nice fragrance. This, to me, for me, it kind of takes BR 540 and kind of shifts it a little more masculine for me. Some people, BR 540, I think, is very much unisex, leans a little feminine, but depending upon which version you're talking about. But this Instant Crush, for me, just kind of shifts it a little back towards the guy side. And it's something that if you're not putting nose on, you may want to put your nose on, see if this is something that fits your taste, fits your fancy as far as fragrances. Again, this is Instant Crush from Mancera. All right, that's it. I've given you 10. You now have 10 vanilla fragrances for you to check out. Let me know your thoughts. In the comments, go ahead and drop in what vanilla fragrances I did not mention that you were like, no, Kevin, you got to include this. You got to talk about this. I know there's things out there, like there's Leighton, of course, and all of the flanker, or not the flankers, but all of the inspired takes of that. I know there's a few other things, of course, that just are kind of iconic ones, but these are 10 that I just wanted to bring up. Some of them may be new to you, or as far as not things I've talked about a lot. Others, of course, are standbys and staples. But let me know your thoughts. Again, as always, stay safe, stay sane, stay smelling good. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, request notifications, check out the video that's right there, and then meet me in the comments. We'll see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed. Deuces, y'all.